I really don't actually think I have a very elegant way of describing differentiation of self and family systems, but at the same time, it's really not that hard to understand. I've been teaching this for a really long time, so my hope is that my silly visuals and overly colorful graphics are going to help you get this really powerful and transformative concept really quickly. At its core, differentiation of self revolves around separating out thoughts, feelings, self, and other. But it's so much more than that, because in family systems, we believe that we're all connected in our families and relationships. So separating out thoughts, feelings, self, and other might be the foundation of things, but there's many more layers to add on in order for us to really get how we work and how we work in relationships. A fully differentiated person is able to recognize and distinguish between one's thoughts and one's feelings. We want to have thoughts about our feelings and feelings about our thoughts. We want to be able to consider the information that comes from our feelings. Feelings are just a source of information. And decide, which is a thoughts thing, what we want to act on. It also involves identifying which thoughts and feelings are intrinsic to ourselves and which are influenced by others or directed towards others. I think we've got two types of feelings, one that is about ourselves and one that goes towards another person. And if you get to a point in your relationship where you can honestly, openly, and regularly share all the types of feelings that go towards your significant other, you've got some true emotional intimacy there. Keeping self and other separate means we don't become influenced by an other person's emotional worlds or let external influences unduly shape and influence ourselves. Don't worry, there's more on this later. Now, the problem with being undifferentiated, aside from not being able to separate out thoughts, feelings, self, and other, is these two problem areas. The first is these porous boundaries, and that means that we are susceptible to being influenced by other people's thoughts, feelings, and most importantly, their anxiety. Social psychology is filled with examples of this. If you pay a few people to stand in line on a high street outside a closed door, over time that line will get longer and longer from random, unpaid people joining in. And when you ask them what they're doing, they won't really have a good answer other than, oh, I thought something was going on because they were stood there. Perhaps more significantly, have you noticed the mood in the office shift when your boss enters the building in a foul mood? I mean, everyone knows it's going to be a crappy day, but you can also think of that as his feelings influencing the feelings of those around him through those porous boundaries. And those feelings go through his porous boundaries into our feelings. And the big difference between someone who's differentiated and someone who isn't is all of that blank space. This is filled with chronic anxiety. It's a different type of anxiety that we normally talk about, the type of anxiety that you feel when you're about to take a test or the first day on a job. This is background anxiety that we don't really feel or notice until there's too much of it. When it hits a tipping point, we tend to act in automatic, autopilot ways. I call these our automatic reactive behaviors. Most noticeably, these automatic reactive behaviors show up in our relationships and impact our family or our current partners. Somewhere on my to-do list is make another course about the 4 ways we react in a relationship. But for now, I'll leave you with this cliffhanger, or you can just Google it, I suppose. But in my world, it's called touch. And the 4 ways that we react when there's too much anxiety in a relationship is triangles, over and under functioning, cutoff and distance, and hostility or conflict. So let me just wrap things up by selling you on why you have to, need to, must, should learn more about this concept. Mastery. When you become more differentiated, you toughen up those boundaries around yourself. You're not so influenced by other people's anxiety. It's your shield against anxiety, and that helps you respond to life versus react. Authenticity. This is a solid boundary and your ability to separate out self from other. It means that you know who you are. It means you know who you want. It means you have a set of guiding principles to rely on to inform your decisions rather than your feelings or what other people say or do. You get to be the real you. Poise means that you are less likely to get into the four patterns of relationships we just looked at, because you will not be slipping into those automatic patterns we all fall into as easily as you once were when you were undifferentiated. You get to have grace and poise and command in a relationship. Balance refers to the gift of being able to separate out and moderate your thoughts, feelings, self, and other. If you're a people pleaser, for example, you can stop choosing to make other more important than self. If you're overly rational or an analytic type, you get to choose to lead with more feelings and have deeper emotional connections. Differentiation is not a quick fix or a quick way to 10x your revenue or get you your dream date and a house in the hills, but it is a way to live a more fulfilling life that is based on decades of research and observations. And it's a process that I found in my personal journey to be profoundly transformative and helpful. Please, if you're interested in this, hit follow and subscribe. Check out more on differentiation of self in the free course I have on mypeoplepatterns.com.